they have to do
Mug life, baby.
Again, I'm not advocating it.
Mug life, baby. Yeah, we rockin' the booth. We mugging for life. We mugging for truth. Smaulgld here, and he's spitting the facts about the pumper community and the way that they act. We mugging for life. We ain't playing the games. We all know the lies and we all know the names. Come on. Mugging for life. Mugging for life. Smaulgld.
Hello and welcome to another Smaulgld live stream. It is October 16th, 2019. And today's topic is Facebook's Libra coin dead? Now, Libra is a purported coin or a coin that they've proposed at Facebook to be some type of global currency, a cryptocurrency as it were. And the idea behind Libra would be that Facebook would pull together a bunch of currencies, including the US dollar, the euro, I think the Swiss franc. It's not quite sure what the ultimate composition of Facebook's Libra coin would be. Would not include the Chinese yuan, but that it would then issue a cryptocurrency, and you'd be able to use it to buy stuff across the internet and on Facebook, and they'd issue a wallet, a crypto wallet, where you can keep your cryptocurrency, your Libra. Now, when this first came out, 3 or 4 months ago, they've been talking about, or there had been stories that they might announce a coin, and they finally announced a coin a few months back. And my first reaction was, this is going to be a tough putt for Facebook. First of all, Facebook is not the company that I think people would want to trust their money with. I would think that people don't even trust their data, pictures of their dog with Facebook. We've heard all the stories of the breaches and privacy issues. Why would somebody even want to use a currency that's issued by Facebook? So first of all, the first issue you got to get over is there even a need for this? Is there any type of demand for this? Or is this just Facebook wanting to thrust itself officiously into the crypto market? Now, a lot of the Bitcoin pumpers who just think anything that happens in cryptocurrency is positive started hailing this as this is going to help Bitcoin because it's like the gateway. It's going to introduce zillions of people into cryptocurrency, which would translate into them all buying Bitcoin. I mean, the way Bitcoin pumpers and maximalists think, they think everything leads to one day Bitcoin dominating the world. It's a single asset adoration theory that you have in gold pumpers, silver pumpers, Bitcoin pumpers. They're very much insistent that the asset that they've fallen in love with in a cult-like fashion is destined to basically save the world and make everyone who owns it the richest people on the planet. Now, we've seen that with gold pumpers, silver pumpers, Bitcoin pumpers. No different. So when Facebook comes along, they don't see it as either a threat to Bitcoin or don't even analyze it as an issue in and of itself. Now, what I like to do with Facebook coin is I called it spy coin right away, because the issue with Facebook coin is, first of all, does anybody want it? And if you did want it and you did have it, would it really be something that would be allowed, so to speak? Now, the Bitcoin proponents always say you can't shut down Bitcoin. It's decentralized. Well, it is decentralized. You can shut down exchanges. You can add taxes. You could put penalties for non-disclosure. There are ways to shutting off the flow of Bitcoin, but a cryptocurrency like Libra, you can shut it down in one fell swoop. You just know where the company is, the servers are, and you just tell them shut it down. If you don't, then you're coming for them. You know who they are. You know the directors and officers of the company are, and it's lights out for Facebook Libra coin. Now, Trump came out around the time of the Libra announcement, and he trashed Bitcoin for being a thin air currency. Steve Mnuchin came out and he said there's a lot of problems with Bitcoin because of money laundering. And when the CNBC host mentioned to him there's a lot of problem with money laundering in the dollar, he said nonsense, there really isn't, which I'm not even going to comment on. I mean, remember, Steve Mnuchin did not tell Congress until the last minute about 100 million in assets that he had. It's all these disclosure issues. Remember, anti-money laundering, you could be, or even, I guess it's criminally arrested for money laundering, even if you've done nothing. It's if you haven't disclosed certain assets that you have. They can just decide that you have ill intent if you have over a certain amount of cash. So cryptocurrencies pose an issue because to a certain extent they can be semi-anonymous or even anonymous if you're in a privacy coin. Now, Facebook's Libra never has gotten off the ground, and it started out as a big deal. It started out by signing up eBay, Visa, PayPal, MasterCard, Stripe, a bunch of big-time partners, and the idea, I guess, these companies figured if Facebook was involved with its global reach and its global footprint, which of course is all based on Facebook itself remaining the #1 social media platform, which there's no guarantee that it will, that they wanted to be a part of it. Now, of course, by creating a basket of currencies and then attaching the Libra coin to it, they create a host of regulatory issues. First of all, how do you acquire the dollars, the euros, and so on? Where do you keep them? How often do you acquire them? Will there be a one-to-one backing? Will Facebook ever just drop the backing? These are things that no one knows. And from a consumer's perspective, why would you want it? If you could, are people would they be buying Facebook Libra because really they wanted exposure to currencies not their own? So if you're in Europe, you want euro and dollar and yen and Swiss franc exposure, or do you just want to have euro exposure? Same with people in the United States. Are you playing the foreign markets, the Forex markets, when you buy Libra? And then again, each of those currencies is subject to different banking regulations, to how much money you can keep in the bank and how much is insured. Would you get the insurance? I don't think so. Stable coins generally are not insured themselves. They may keep their assets in an insured account, but that's not the same as you having the insurance on your money that's in with Libra. Now, the other problem with Libra is that, again, this is just from the consumer side. Who gets the interest on all that money that's stashed away in the bank account? And do you even want it? Do you want to put your money into a wallet online? Remember, we're not talking about people who are already into cryptocurrencies. And those people probably want nothing to do with Facebook's Libra. We're going to get into later in the program. I have a couple of charts I want to show you as to actually how many people do own cryptocurrencies. For all the hype and all the nonsense about Bitcoin taking over the world, you'd be very surprised how few people actually own Bitcoin, Litecoin, and the other cryptocurrencies. And yet the Bitcoin maximalists act as if Bitcoin is taking over the world. And anyway, but we're going to get to that in a minute. But back to Facebook's Libra coin. From a consumer perspective, there's been no indication that anyone even wants it. Remember, people already use online money. They use Square, they use PayPal. Do they need a Facebook coin? I'm not sure that they do, but Visa, PayPal, eBay, Stripe, MasterCard, they all signed up to see how this thing might go. Well, immediately there was backlash. Before it even had any consumer interest, Congress went nuts. They wanted to have hearings on this thing. They weren't satisfied when they dragged one of the guys from Facebook in front of them. Then, of course, we mentioned Trump was against cryptocurrencies in general. Mnuchin came out against Libra, came out against cryptocurrencies. And, of course, the banks don't like the idea either. Well, recently, as I mentioned, these big companies that had joined as part of this consortium to launch Libra, which at the time they announced it, they thought it'd be launched next year, 2020, said, I ain't got it. They're not interested. And now they're out. Now, I believe they're out because two things were happening. The first point I was making is I don't think there's a demand for it. There's not really much of a demand for Bitcoin, and I'm going to show you those numbers in a minute. But why would there be a demand for Facebook coin? There are some attractions to Bitcoin if you are interested in having a digital currency. There would be some attractions to a digital dollar, a digital ruble. You can see a gold back. You can see how people might be interested in digital currencies. But a Facebook digital currency, to me, never made any sense. Not to me personally, but to why anyone would want it. Now, the reason people would want Bitcoin is obviously there's a speculative value in it. They think they can buy it, it's going to go higher, and then they can also always spend it. They promise that you'll be able to spend it easier, and that they'll be making innovations in speed of transaction and user interfaces on wallets. So you can see why people might want to be involved in the privately issued cryptocurrencies. But why anybody would want a Facebook coin is no different than, if they came out and said we have a Facebook gift card. Okay. I mean, and it's based on you don't buy $50 worth, you buy 50 Libra, and the value of the Libra are based on euros, dollars, Swiss franc, whatever we have in our account. I'm not sure that's a big hit. Well, it's obviously not a hit with Congress. It's not a hit with the president. It's not a hit with the Treasury. And Mnuchin the other day was talking, I think it was on CNBC, I think it was 2 days ago. He was mentioning, here it is, how a lot of these firms left Libra. Now, this is the point that irks me, is they say that they're leaving Libra because of its current inability to meet anti-money laundering standards. Well, how do they know that? Because anyone can meet anti-money laundering standards. In fact, a centralized issuer can easily meet money laundering issues, anti-money laundering issues. It's harder for a company, let's say like Coinbase, who is dealing with and having on its platform different coins, and people are using all types of privacy coins or tumblers, and they're trying to hide their identity. I mean, there's with a coin that doesn't have a centralized issuer, there is a anti-money laundering issue. But when you're dealing with a centralized issuer, like Facebook or the subsidiary or whatever entity they set up, that company with enough lawyers and enough technology and enough effort can put in very strict anti-money laundering standards, just like a bank can. Now, even with anti-money laundering standards in place, we've seen the big banks still fall afoul and get fined for money laundering. So the idea that Facebook can't come up with anti-money laundering procedures, to me is a stretch, because they haven't launched it yet. So why would you drop out of a consortium to launch the Libra coin? You would just say, look, we got to meet these standards. We play by the rules. We're a public company. We're all big companies, Visa, PayPal, eBay, MasterCard. I don't think they dropped out because of that. I think they dropped out of that because Mnuchin told them, we're not going to allow this. Because meeting anti-money laundering standards, again, with an effort and a willingness to do it, you should be able to meet those standards. I think also the other reason is I don't think there's a need for this coin. I don't think there's an interest in the coin. I think there's an interest in Facebook having the coin. Facebook is probably facing a growth issue. If you have 3 billion users, well, you're not going to grow to 10 billion because there aren't 10 billion people that could possibly sign up for Facebook other than sock puppet accounts. So you have to come up with a way to get more money out of each user. Spamming them, and that's not going to work. So they figured get into transactions. Well, that's a market. That is the company trying to create a market for its own benefit rather than for the benefit of the consumers who's demanding, hey, we really would like to have some type of digital currency. Because if they needed a digital currency, I don't think that is a need that Facebook Libra coin meets. So that's where we are with Libra. Let me know what you think. I do now want to continue on. Also, Dizzy Miss Lizzie is a big, not proponent, but antagonist on Facebook. So she got elected. You can kiss Facebook coin goodbye. Trump is not in favor of it. So it's not like a change in regime is going to help Facebook. She's very against Facebook. Trump is very against Facebook. Mnuchin is against Facebook. whoever Dizzy Miss Lizzie would put in, I'm sure would not be a big fan of Facebook. So I think these firms saw the writing on the wall. They've pulled out. I think internally now Facebook is saying 2023. I don't know. I think the world will have moved on by then, and I think this is enough for Facebook. And Facebook, I think, may get split up, may have issues. People aren't. They say do. Facebook has not been. Both the left and the right don't like Facebook. So who's left? The center. I don't think everyone likes Facebook. Not many people have a positive image of Facebook. I don't think people want to give them their money either. But I do want to talk now about Bitcoin and Litecoin and some of the things that have been happening in the crypto space. Take a look at this chart. A lot of people talk about how Bitcoin's taken over the world, the unbanked, and all these people, that there's this great demand for Bitcoin and everyone's going to be using it. And I have a problem with that because they also call it digital gold, and people don't spend gold. So if it's digital gold, fine. Go with that argument. Say people are going to buy it, they're going to store it, they're going to secure it. But they're not going to spend it if it's digital gold. But if you talk to somebody who's into Bitcoin, they'll tell you it's everything. They're going to spend it, they're going to store it. They give you all these fake analogies between gold and silver and historically and Bitcoin standard. It's really just a bunch of gibberish, and it's just a bunch of people talking their book and trying to promote Bitcoin. The same way that the gold and silver pumpers, they latch on to certain statistics or certain historical anecdotes. They don't really analyze all of history. They pull out a little piece of it that suits their narrative, and then they spout that. And that's the little learning is a dangerous thing. And then you get their acolytes. They start repeating the nonsense, and everybody starts to believe it. But Bitcoin, here's a chart that shows how many Bitcoin addresses there are and how much Bitcoin is in each address. Now, there's no way that there is one address per one owner, meaning most owners will have Bitcoin in at least they obviously have one address in which they have their Bitcoin, but they may have a wallet, they may have two wallets, they may have a few addresses where they keep their Bitcoin. But let's just keep it simple. And let's just assume there's only one address per one owner, that no owner has more than one address, which is not likely. Even if it was that, I've calculated here, this is from BitApps, there's only 5.2 million addresses that even have $80 worth of Bitcoin. That's not a big deal. I mean, $80 is, and that's where the line is drawn. I mean, people have, there's 12, 16, 17 million people that have a dusting amount. Someone may have given them $10, or back then they might have given somebody 50 cents. A few years ago, there was a lot of that going on, and now it's worth $20, $25 or something like that. But the point is that there's not really a substantial amount of addresses that have very much Bitcoin. Now, they trade it back and forth, but that's not Bitcoin actually moving from one wallet to the other. When they trade on Binance and Bitfinex and all those Coinbase and so on, CoinEx, they're not trading anything. They're just trading the price that's going by on the screen, and it's not really Bitcoin that's being traded. I mean, they have 100-time leverage on a lot of these sites. So, and you see it in the COMEX, there's definitely a lot of volume, or the CME group's Bitcoin trading. But when you actually have contracts that are backed by an amount of Bitcoin, like you have now on the latest Bitcoin Futures Exchange backed, you see they trade 80 Bitcoin, 100 Bitcoin. I think the record was like 220 in one day. Not a lot, but that's not surprising given that there's only about 5 million addresses that even have, I wouldn't even say $80 is not substantial. That's 0.01 Bitcoin. Now, if you go to about $1,000 worth of Bitcoin, who has $1,000 worth of Bitcoin? About 2.7 million people. That's it. 2.7 million addresses. Now I'm going to guess that at most that's 2 million people. It's probably less. So $1,000. Now, if you think of what $1,000 is, I mean, in the grand scheme of savings, $1,000 is, I mean, it's a lot of money, but it's not high finance. So then you see there are some people who have it looks like there's 2,000 addresses that have 100 to 1,000. You're talking some pretty big money. Or 1,000, you've got 2,000 people that have over 1,000. That's big money. But that also highlights the fact that Bitcoin is very much concentrated, the wealth up at the top. Now, the Bitcoin fanatics like to tell you that this is the one coin to rule them all, and every other coin is a scam, and there's no way there's any value in any other coin. And as if there's no issues with Bitcoin whatsoever. First of all, no one's using it. No one owns it, and no one's using it. Well, of course, then if you go to the other coins, which they call scams, even fewer people are using them. However, I mean, Bitcoin is in most of the mining's in China, and then they trash Litecoin but Litecoin doesn't have most of its mining in China. So see, what they don't realize is they've fallen in love with an asset, and they don't use all the facts, all the statistics. They just latch onto a concept, and it's very much the one player, the non-player character. Bitcoin is digital gold, and digital gold, it's just like Litecoin. They do the whole thing. Silver is rarer than gold. They just insist that something's going to happen, and they get Max Kaiser, who's blocked me on Twitter. I don't interact with him. I guess that's the type of account that he figures he preemptively blocked me, probably. I don't know. Anyway, Litecoin now is same thing. No one uses Litecoin either. But it's not like that many more people are using Bitcoin than are using Litecoin. There's nearly 1 million addresses that have $50 worth of Litecoin, which in a way is somewhat substantial given that Litecoin has a very low value and only has I think it's like $53, $52. So there's plenty of room to either grow or just collapse on either of these coins. The idea that one coin is destined and everything else is this shit, that's just propaganda. We don't know. There may be other cryptocurrencies that come out and provide, I don't know, speed, stability, anonymity. Who knows what features another cryptocurrency can provide? Proof of work, proof of stake. Who knows which one is better? Which one is quantum resistant? That stuff is all going to play out. There's no destiny after 8 years, and that's the next thing I want to talk about with Litecoin, that after 10 years of Bitcoin, that somehow that's it. Bitcoinization, and Bitcoin's going to be the standard, and central banks are going to buy Bitcoin. I mean, you can speculate that, but to insist on it, and then to get people to insist on it, they might have read a book about it, and now they're insisting that that's the way of the world. That's more, some of the gold pumping and silver pumping is equally ridiculous, but at least they can look back at, they can cherry pick from 5,000 years of history. But Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is no history to cherry pick at all. All right, now, what I was mentioning, 10 years of Bitcoin, Litecoin's been around for 8 years. Now, here's an interesting one. I mean, I think that these arguments are all red herrings, whether it's gold or silver to Bitcoin's gold. But these people act like they know. They're convinced this is what's going to happen. This is what has to happen based on what happened to gold and silver. I mean, the two aren't even close. Bitcoin and Litecoin and gold and silver. I mean, this podcast can go on for 20 hours describing the differences just between gold and silver. And then when you're going to try to compare and insist Bitcoin is gold and Litecoin is silver. But in any event, there's one of these guys, Tone Vase, just believes that Bitcoin is it and everything else is just a scam. And Charlie Lee, who created this Litecoin, mentioned, this is a good point, that if Litecoin was so useless, then why would you have $500 billion worth of transactions in the last 8 years? I mean, if we were heading towards everyone's going to use Bitcoin, which is ridiculous on its face, because literally in the world, no one is using Bitcoin, but people are still using Litecoin, and that number is increasing. The number of Litecoin people are increasing, but they insist that it's I don't know. It's going to happen that everyone's going to use Bitcoin, and then no one will use anything else. And historically, that's false too. But I'm not going to get into that stupid argument that they make that somehow everyone used gold over silver, which historically is not true. But then to call other coins scams. This is a good point that Charlie Lee made. He said, just because I never drink Pepsi and I think it's inferior to Coke, it doesn't mean Pepsi is a scam. I mean, but the thing is, once you believe, either you're a fan of Bitcoin or gold or silver, you're willing to believe anything as long as you've been preconditioned to believe that your asset is number one. Nothing else can come close to it. And you just parrot this nonsense and you hear it and you cheer like a seal whenever you hear these arguments. And it's kind of unfortunate that people view assets as if they're like family members and they don't want anything bad about them. In fact, they're like little kids with their dad. They think their dad can beat up Muhammad Ali. It's like, well, unless your dad is Mike Tyson, he probably can't. It's good to think, well, I think that's fine if it's your dad, but I don't think to think very well of your dad. I don't think it's fine to think very well of gold or silver or Bitcoin or Litecoin or any asset because, all right, let's see. Here's a point that I made also. A lot of people are trashing Litecoin because the Litecoin Foundation. Remember, a decentralized coin doesn't need a foundation. Bitcoin used to have a foundation and went out of business. Too many people fighting. But Charlie's saying here, there was a Litecoin Foundation started in 2017 by him. And then he funded it. I think he gave him $800,000 and they're down to, I don't know, a couple of $100,000 and they sell t-shirts and other stuff and they lose money. But he basically says, even if the foundation runs out of money, it's not like the coin goes away. And it was a point. I made a very similar tweet that was on here. It says 15 hours ago. I had tweeted, that was like days ago. I said, the Litecoin Foundation will go the way of the Bitcoin Foundation. It won't matter one bit. I mean, if the coin is the coin, foundation are just people who are like hyper interested in the coin. The other thing I do want to mention here, when people trash Litecoin versus Bitcoin, and I'm not promoting Litecoin. I'm just pointing out here that every coin, every asset has its pros and its cons, its strengths and its weaknesses. Bitcoin has weaknesses. You talk to somebody who likes Bitcoin, no, it doesn't. It's superior in all ways to everything. There are people who like gold over silver and silver over gold, and they like them exclusively. Well, if I had to pick, and so they do pick, and then they pick silver over gold, and that's it. They don't want to hear about gold. And I gotta believe. People say I gotta believe, and you say, why do you have to believe that? Why do you have to believe silver is better than gold? Why do you have to believe everyone's going to use Bitcoin? Just because you've decided it's easier, that's what you're going to believe, and you're going to believe that. But here's the thing that the Litecoin Foundation pointed out. More than half the Litecoin network is served from the US, Germany, and France, versus Bitcoin, which is served from China. Now, that means something. Now, you can dismiss it. Oh, they could just move from China. Okay. But what if they don't? Or the other thing is that the Bitcoin is slow. It's more expensive. Well, Lightning Network. Well, what if Lightning Network doesn't take off? What if people don't want to spend Bitcoin? Oh, they will. Why? If it's gold, why would they want to spend? Anyway, these are points we've gone through before. But I find it fascinating that people dig their heels in and they don't look at all the data. They basically create a future. And it's okay to speculate, but they create a future based on the few bits and pieces of history they may know and the facts as they may know them. And then they insist, well, from that, yeah, if you cherry pick facts and you cherry pick history, from that, you have to conclude with mathematical certainty that Bitcoin's going to $3 million and it's going to be the world's global reserve currency. Okay, but there's a lot of facts out there that indicate that might not happen. But they can't see it that way, and they don't want to see it that way. And not only do they not want to see it that way, they don't even want to hear that something else might come along. Doesn't have to be better, but would exist and do well as well. No. You'll see Bitcoin will be the only cryptocurrency. I don't know. I find all of this lack of analysis disheartening because I think that I don't know if the people who promote it are actually thinking they're doing analysis or if they know what they're doing and they're just pumping and they're just promoting it and they've picked a way of pumping. They've picked the facts and they know if they just repeat this, they get other people repeat it and they can push the price of whatever asset they're pumping higher and higher. I think that either it's done wittingly or unwittingly, but either way, it's people who hear it and parrot it, either wittingly or unwittingly, they're not really analyzing anything. They're just basically cheerleading. All right, let's see what you guys are saying in the comments section. All right, DW says only 13 watching and now 3 thumbs up. Yeah, well, actually, one thing I do know about the Smaulgld audience, very loyal, relatively small, but they are more skewed towards hearing about gold and silver. I don't have, and a lot of them have left. Some of the original people who follow for gold and silver, they have an antipathy towards cryptocurrency. They think when I talk about cryptocurrency that I'm a trader and that I'm pumping cryptos and I used to be a good analyst and then I started covering this crypto. I mean, then they don't understand how I cover stuff, because I cover stuff as an analysis. And if you just listen just now, I wasn't any pump of anything. I'm explaining that the crypto people do See, what the gold and silver pumpers don't realize, they don't think they're pumping. They think that the crypto people are pumping, but they think what they're doing is spreading the facts and the truth. They think it's the truth when they spread their incomplete information. Yeah, so I'm not surprised at the smaller number tonight, because we do get more. And this audience is also, I noticed, you get the most visit on gold, not silver. I think it's because I lost a lot of the silver people, because I kept trashing the concept of the gold-silver ratio, and that took a lot of the real diehard silver people out of the equation. They don't want to hear that. They want to hear the Mike Baloney story. They want to hear about buying a house with 200 ounces of silver. They want to hear about the greatest wealth transfer. They want to hear the strain stuff about silver's at the bottom of a pyramid and it's the greatest wealth, greatest asset in our lives. And of course, I don't say any of that stuff. So I think that if I were to put out a topic and I were to discuss gold, that'll get me the most views. Gold and silver will get me a lot. Silver will get me a lot. Cryptocurrency gets me the lowest. And again, if you're a crypto fanatic, you don't want to come to this channel and listen to me talk about crypto, because I don't make price predictions. I don't say to the moon. What I did say last summer and last fall, was that crypto was going to rise again because of the institutional interest. Now, that doesn't sound like any kind of great insight today, because that's what happened. But when I was saying it, it was a huge insight, because everyone was saying at the time crypto was just going straight to zero. And I was saying, I don't think so. I was saying that Litecoin at $22 was going to went all the way up to